Next, we have some bad news for you, and I would like to call up my dear brother, Jose La Luz, to give you the bad news.
So, sisters and brothers, comrades, we were looking forward to having this wonderful person who has been really excited about our work. I'm referring to the mayor of San Juan, Carmen Yulin Cruz, and it wasn't until really a couple of days ago that we finally learned that due to some family, illnesses, her mother, and then another ferocious attack from the inhabitant of the White House, who announced that these funds that are being held forever, as you may have heard, in terms of the relief aid, after the so-called natural catastrophe. And so she's engaged, in these fights. She sent her regrets, but she was kind enough to put together a video for us that we're going to see. And before we show the video, I just wanted to say that Carmen Yulin has been one of the key protagonists in this, historic fight of the people of this U.S. territory, not only to confront, the racism and xenophobia from the inhabitant of the White House. You have noticed that I have difficulty mentioning his name by now because he's not my president. And I mean that in more ways than one, because we are actually colonial subjects in Puerto Rico. The mayor has been devoting a lot of her time and energy to building this movement that not only deals with the aftermath of the so-called natural catastrophe that triggered the mass migration of climate refugees from the island to places like Florida and Texas and some places in throughout the South, because folks are no longer going to New York State and New Jersey and Connecticut, where it's cold. They are now finding their way to the southern part of the country, interestingly enough. So she's been working with the diaspora very closely in terms of building movements for power and transformation. But one of the other things that she has been spending a lot of time and energy is with this massive debt that Puerto Rico owes banks, Wall Street banks and hedge funds to the tune of $140 billion that will never be paid because simply, the people are not, this is an impossibility. And so, the question of the kind of restructuring that needs to take place is one of the issues that has occupied a lot of her time and attention. But she has also found time to become one of the 4 national co-chairs of the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign. So, Mark, don't be angry. I just discovered a little while ago a tweet of our friend the mayor with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie Sanders in New York City at a rally that's taking place, I think, soon. I think it's taking place right, so don't hold her against it. But she was kind enough to do this, and one of the reasons she became so committed with our fight is that the presence of 50 nurses in Puerto Rico at the time of the hurricane from National Nurses United that were part of a delegation of 350 men and women from more than 25 different unions across the U.S. who were there, and she housed them at the Coliseum there, in spite of the corrupt governor and his trying to cover up for the reality that you and I discovered later in terms of the almost 3,000 people that died. Her whole life was transformed because, like me, she discovered the meaning of when the nurses say, this is a movement to save lives, this is in fact a movement to save lives. And the mayor's life, has been changed in so many ways. So I'm happy to announce that she was kind enough to prepare this short video for us. I hope you enjoy it, and perhaps let's hope that she can accompany us in a future occasion. ¿Se puede o no se puede? ¿Se puede o no se puede? Can we or can we not? Can we or can we not? All right, let's go for it.
Greetings from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I'm really sorry I could not make it to the conference, but the issue at hand is so important that I want to thank the Single Payer National Strategy Conference for taking on the fight and the struggle to just guarantee something that is so important, access to healthcare. Just imagine that you're sick, and all of a sudden you're thinking whether you should have to go to the emergency room or how you're going to pay for it. Or imagine you need a medicine for your child, insulin, for example, and you just simply cannot afford it. Or imagine that you are an HIV patient, a person living with a particular condition, but you just cannot struggle through it because you have to decide whether to pay the rent or really just ensure that you keep on living. That's no way to live. It's unconscionable that about 30 million Americans in the United States are underinsured or don't have any insurance at all. In Puerto Rico, between 900,000 and 1 million people cannot afford to go to the doctor, cannot afford to get appropriate health care, cannot afford to thrive, and not only try to survive. This is a fight that we have to really take on. Yes, it is a fight mostly against large interest, big interest, those that do not need their lives to be taken care of, whose lives do not depend on having the money to get accessible health care, will say that it's not needed. They will ask for questions like, how are we going to pay for it? Why are we going to provide health care for all? The people that say that, simply put, are the people that don't need Medicare for all. This summer, Puerto Rico underwent a peaceful revolution. We once again proved that when people come together, there is no fight and no struggle that can be stopped. Why do we have to take on this fight? Why do I thank you for taking on this fight? Because healthcare, simply put, is a basic human right. So let no elderly person, no person with a diverse background, no immigrant, no man, woman, or child, no transgender person go without the help they need, go without the medical aid they need. Let us all respect the human and basic right of living a life free of disease, of living a life where we can afford to go to the doctor. It is our time. We can get it done. Si se puede.